Hello and welcome to the Conscious Entrepreneurs Podcast, a series of inspiring interviews with spiritual leaders and entrepreneurs who have successfully turned their passion into their own business and who are dedicated to living their best possible life while making this world a better place through their work, offerings, and authentic presence. I'm your host, Anna Frolic. I am an intuitive guide and mentor for purpose-driven business owners who are ready to break free from their self-imposed limitations so they can confidently step into their true calling, make more money working less, and embrace the life their soul is craving. I'm so excited you're here with us, and I can't wait to introduce you to today's guest. For more information about this and past episodes, please visit www.annafrolic.com. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Conscious Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm your host, Anna Frolic, and I'm here today with Liz Lockwood. Liz is a business coach and mentor for driven and different entrepreneurs who want to make an impact and income while staying true to themselves. She has a business degree and a master's in mental health counseling, and she decided to combine the two in her online business about 2 years ago. When she first got started, she felt pretty overwhelmed in the noisy online space and even quit her business for a few months because she was feeling so sensitive. Taking space helped her find herself and get clear on how she truly wanted to show up online, and growing her business has been completely different since then. She now loves to share what she has learned with other sensitive entrepreneurs and helps them build a successful business that truly resonates with who they are. Yay! I'm so excited you're here with me today, Liz.
Thanks so much. Yeah, thanks for having me, and I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, I really wanted to interview you. I think pretty much ever since I started the podcast, I kept getting those nudges to reach out to you. So I'm so excited. And you were actually one of my big inspirations for this podcast as well.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm glad.
Yeah, because I had the inspiration to start a podcast for a pretty long time, actually. And then when you started yours, I was like, okay, I got to go ahead and start mine too.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those things that you just have to like do it. There's never going to be like the perfect time. And I think it's awesome that you started.
Yeah, and you're doing such a great job. And I just, always love your energy. And I think we have a lot in common too with our sensitivities and
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little more today. Okay, let me just pull up my notes here real quick. The first thing I wanted to ask you is if you could just share a little more about who you are in your own words, what you're currently doing in your business, what kinds of services you're offering, and maybe who your ideal client is, and so on. Whatever you feel inspired to share.
Sure, that's quite the picture. So you did a really good job kind of wrapping up my life in a nutshell in the intro. But basically, my first degree in college was business, and I was actually in sales. I sold insurance. And then I was like, what am I doing with my life? I went back to grad school at my master's in counseling, and I was kind of on this like healing journey, I guess I'd say, like healing myself, and also on the mission kind of like help heal others. So I basically just got like all this education in like yoga and different forms of therapy and all these different techniques. And I had a lot of illness in my 20s, and it basically led me to like starting my own business so I could kind of take care of my health as well. So I was doing mostly like what I was calling yoga therapy, or just like therapy in general. And then I was also teaching yoga, and it was good, but like I was really just feeling called to like do things in a different way and kind of show up almost in a way that like more people could be impacted. And so I came online, and I was really, really overwhelmed, like you said in my intro, just with all the noise online. And I was like, whoa, what is going on here? It was like a whole different world. But eventually got the hang of it. So really, when I came online, and even a little bit before online, I was really integrating my skills in my business. So instead of being a therapist, I was really showing up as more of a business coach and mentor for people that, at that point were helping others, mainly in the helping industry. And then when I came online, I was like, there's got to be other people like me, just feeling like really different, still feeling really like driven to make a difference, wanting to stay true to themselves, feeling really sensitive, all of that goes on in like our head when we're trying to create a business. So basically that's what I shifted. I really just started embracing all of that, and really just like, okay, well, how can I work with myself and kind of, show up maybe a little differently, but in a way that works for me. Hopefully I fit everything what you just said.
Yeah, I love that. So I'd love to hear a little more about that shift that you made, because I know your story, like you said, that you were feeling really sensitive and overwhelmed at the beginning, and you even quit your business for a while. So what was that big transformation that happened for you, or what was the aha moment or that shift that happened for you where you realized that there was a way for you to run your business so it actually works for you? And what are some of the main changes that you made as well in your business so that you could make it work for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's still a balance, first of all. Like, I don't think it was definitely for sure not like a flip of a switch, like, oh, Liz is not sensitive anymore. So I think like it remains to be a continual process. And I think that's cool because like I'm kind of walking the journey of, that my clients walk. And I think that's something that people resonate with, because it's like, I'm there, I live it every day as well. What really happened though was, I feel like before I was kind of playing small. So like, that's what I call it anyway. So I wasn't really like stepping into my full power, into my full voice. And what actually happened was my dad was diagnosed with cancer, and it was pretty aggressive cancer. It was bladder cancer. And it really made me like rise up in my personal life, just like stepping up to the plate to help him and help my mom. And I realized how strong I was and how like capable I was. And I think I was just like, you know what? Like, I can do this for my family. Like, I can run a business. Like, this is gonna work. So I actually was back online when he was going through that. It was almost like a creative outlet for me, like through the process. It was actually quite weird. I had some people asking me like, why are you like restarting your business right now? And I'm like, because it's what I want to do. And thank God he's okay. So that's like awesome, fantastic.
So glad to hear that.
Yeah, it's really great. I'm trying to remember the second piece of what you asked me. I think it was, so like really how I show up differently in my business now. The first time I came online, I really, really, really resisted structure. I was like, I'm intuitive, I'm inspired, I'm gonna just flow off my creativity. And honestly, I was all over the place because of that. So this time it sounds weird, but like I really felt like I needed the structure for my energy to have like a channel and have an outlet. So I've gotten more structured, I've gotten more organized, and it's really helped, especially with the consistent part of showing up. Like there's been many a day that if I didn't have like my content organized, or like maybe kind of the path that I was seeing for my pre-clients to kind of like go on, if I didn't have that structured, I would have just been like, I'm not going to show up today. Like I'm not really feeling it. But when all you have to do is copy and paste, you've already written everything, it's a lot easier to show up. So yeah, I pretty much got structured. and I had to still leave a lot of room for flow. So, there's a lot of coaches that book their calls back to back, and I can't really do that. Like, I can kind of do 2 calls in a row occasionally, depending on who the clients are, but more times than not, I have to have them spread out. I need to go outside in between. Movement is an essential part of my business plan. So I think it just maybe my business just looks a lot different than some people. Honestly, I still feel like I would like to spend less time online. I feel like I kind of got back into spending a bit too much time on the computer. And part of that could be because I live in New England, so it's like we're just coming out of winter. So I'm kind of like, oh, I need to get out of this house. Like, I need to go hiking. But yeah, just really noticing what I need and following that.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. And I can definitely relate in a lot of ways. I think a lot of us super creative people really resist structures,
Oh yeah.
structure in business. And I've definitely been there as well. I've solved it for myself in a bit of a different way, but I agree, it helps to have certain things that you just kind of pre-schedule every day or even just during the week, and then having that space for flow as well. That I feel that's a really, really great strategy.
Yeah, totally.
Recently, I watched one of your lives in your Facebook group about boundaries. I really loved that one where you explained basically the structure piece, and as well as having the boundary, the energetic boundaries with, I guess, clients, and how you're showing up online as well. Would you like to elaborate on that a little bit as well? And is there anything that were there any aha moments or major shifts for you on this journey where you just realized that you had to set better boundaries?
I think boundaries are what I meant to learn in this life. I feel like boundaries, it always comes back to boundaries for me. And yeah, that was a huge thing that I shifted. I think it was either the live or the podcast that you're talking about that I called, it's not social media, it's your boundaries. And really, for me, the first time I was online, I blamed a lot on social media. I was definitely that person that was oh, Facebook is this, social media is that. And then really I was wait a second, I think it's the way I'm using social media, not necessarily social media. So yeah, I think a big thing here is just what can you control? For me, the biggest thing is checking. I can be a bit of a checker. It's part of my personality. I've kind of have a bad habit of checking things. So, I have to be really structured around okay, Liz, you went on Facebook this morning. Now you get off Facebook. You don't check Facebook all day. You can go on later to do your stuff, but having that discipline to say no to yourself, I think, is huge when you're running a business. Having the discipline to say no to other people is sometimes harder for me. That's something that I really struggled with in this business because when I restarted it, it was kind of successful faster than I was expecting. So all of a sudden I had to say no and say, no, I don't PM with people all day. If you want to work with me, here's how you work with me. I'm not going to, engage in this type of conversation. Or a big one for me was actually the first time I worked online, I didn't really have set programs. I was just I'll do whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want. And this time I came back online and I was really structured about this is how many calls I offer. This is how long we're going to work together. This is what I am going to help you with. And I had a lot of people resisting that, oh, well, can you just do this? And it's easy to think oh, I'll just bend the rule once, but it's that leads to a lot of energy drain. If you're going to be like bending and swaying for all these different people, it's really hard to keep track of. So, yeah, I think just like having the discipline to say no and giving yourself permission to, put yourself on top of your priority list and do what like you feel called to do, not necessarily like sway in the breeze with everyone's requests, has been a real big learning journey for me.
Mm. Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I've actually found the same. Just it's interesting that you brought up the programs and structuring your programs differently, because that's kind of something that I've been working on, especially in more recent times, because I found that like I'm a creative person too, and I kind of like to have variety, but I also found that when I have too many different kinds of programs going on, or I have clients sometimes who work with me for half a year, and then I launch different programs for totally different, well, not totally different ideal client, but maybe they're on a different level, and that it actually can create a bit of confusion, or I feel that sometimes there is a better flow also for my clients when I have more structure in that sense. And I
I think structure can
kind of the same themes with all of my clients at the same time.
I think like structure, like think of the structure of a building, like it provides safety, right? Like it provides like a feeling of, like I got this or I've got you. And I feel like that's when we can provide our clients with that. It's like we kind of take the decisions off them, and you kind of are showing up more as the expert or the professional, being like, we got this, like this is how it's going to go, and you don't even have to worry about it. So I think it's like an element of trust that, gives way for people to feel safe working with you and trust you.
Yeah, totally. All right. The next topic that I really wanted to dive into with you is getting support in your business. I know this is just kind of from seeing your posts and hearing about your journey. I know this has definitely been transformational for you. And one podcast that you recently published, I just loved it so much, the topic. Your husband is not your business coach. Can you elaborate on this a little bit? I just
you'll probably have to cut me off because I'll probably get on a soapbox. This is like a huge hot button for me. And it is something also that I did differently the second time around in my business. And, I'm not speaking for the masses here. I'm only speaking for me and my experience. But for me, when I was trying to like create my business by myself, it was really, really, really hard. And I was spinning and quite frankly, kind of like suffering in my own head. And what I mean by that is like I was overthinking things. I was being hard on myself. I was wondering why I couldn't do it and looking at all the people that it looked so easy for. And when I came back online the second time, like I said, I was blessed enough to have some success right away. And it was really difficult to maintain that because I didn't really have outside support. I work from home. I think a lot of entrepreneurs do, online entrepreneurs. So sometimes the only person I'd see in person during the day was my husband. So I developed this really bad habit of kind of not asking, but like talking to him about things. Sometimes like asking him, not even just his opinion, but just being like, oh, I'm doing this or this. Like, what do you think sounds better? And it was just like, I was hungry for like support and hungry for connection and hungry for like collaboration because, we all like people, hopefully. So, I kind of knew that I needed support, right? Like my husband has a regular 9-to-5 job. I talked to him about it and I was like, you know how you get like training and you have a manager and you have like team meetings, like I need that. Like I need to set that up for myself. It's not going to just happen. Like I need to find that. And I have a little bit of an all or nothing personality / a lot of an all or nothing personality. So I knew when I hired someone that I wanted to hire someone that was going to like be able to really help me, and someone that like I had seen or been following for a while, you know, someone that I trusted. So I ended up hiring someone that I would consider fairly expensive. And I didn't have the full investment. So it was like very, very, very scary. I was like, oh my God, what the hell am I doing? So I went in on trust, and I was like, you know, I'm just gonna see how this goes. I'm gonna commit to it. You know, I'll figure it out. And thank God I did. Like, it's been so transformative just for me as a person, as me as a businesswoman. Um, you know, I really think there's this stigma almost that you have to and should be able to figure out your business by yourself, and I think that's a load of crap. You know, a lot of people come into this without a business background, so like how the heck would you know how to run a business? I did come into it with a business background, but it's still really hard to see your own blind spots. And so for me, I really needed someone to just kind of be there for me, honestly. Like, even just to have someone to talk to. You know, I come from a therapy background, so like I had a supervisor a lot of the time, or like a mentor in that capacity. And just to have someone show up for you is so powerful. I really feel like it's really transformed the work that I'm able to do, and just changed the way I'm able to show up. So yeah, the podcast, Your Husband Isn't Your Business Coach, is really, I've talked to a lot of people that rely on their significant other, or maybe their mom or their best friend, you know, fill in the blank with your person. They rely on that person to maybe talk or unload or bounce ideas off of. And the truth is, like, they have no clue what our industry is all about. You know, they really have no clue what we're talking about. It put a lot of strain on my relationship. So in that podcast, my husband is on the podcast with me, and he's super open about how difficult it was for him, and how difficult it was on our marriage, and how it's kind of shifted. And we joke, like, I call my coach our coach. And even till this day, sometimes he'll be like, oh, that's a question for your coach, not me, if I like slip up. So it's just been really funny. It's been really a big blessing.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I totally agree that getting support is definitely helpful. The first time I hired a coach, that was about 2.5 years ago. Like, it was a big leap, and it was like a way bigger investment than I had ever made in my business, even though I had invested before in different ways. And it definitely helped to like totally get me out of a phase of being stuck in my business and not creating the income that I knew even needed to support myself. And so within a few months, like, I had my first 5K month. So that definitely, it was still a journey after that, but that was definitely a big breakthrough. Although I do have to say, my journey has also been, I've also had to learn to sometimes be okay with relying on myself, or not jump into investing too quickly. So I think I've also made the mistake of investing when I didn't really feel it was the right time or the right person. And then I was chasing shiny objects. So I love hearing how intentional you were about making that investment. So I think sometimes having a bit of resistance for a while, or, you know, not rushing into things, is actually a good thing too, because then you're more intentional about.
For sure. Yeah, I actually sat on it for a while. Like, I had followed the woman that I hired for like 2 years, and the kind of the thing that got me was, like, honestly, I think it was like her consistency. It was something I wanted, right? Like, I was like, how are you that consistent? I'm all over the place. But I reached out to her, and I was like, hey, I'm interested in working with you. And then I had a couple of things pop up. And so I sat on it. I was like, I'm going to overthink this a little in the back end. And but yeah, I mean, I was very intentional. I remember before I hired her, I told my husband, I was like, I want to be a yes to her before I get on the discovery call. So I just really kind of got aligned myself and like really like wanted it, right? Like I think that was part of it for me. Like, okay, I'm gonna invest. Like I'm really want this, and I'm gonna show up for myself. So it's been a really cool experience. I've been really enjoying it.
Yeah, I love how he said that you really wanted it. I think that's always a really great sign if you're just getting this strong, consistent inner guidance, and it's just something that you really, really want, then that's always a good idea to follow that. I feel that's where you can't go wrong if you're really following your heart.
For sure.
So, okay, I'm just gonna go back to my questions real quick. I think I've covered pretty much everything that I wanted to go through with you today, but let me see if there's anything. Okay, maybe one more thing. Do you have any like specific favorite wellness tips for entrepreneurs or like sensitive entrepreneurs who are struggling with their sensitivity in the online space? Do you have like any specific favorite self-care tips that you love to share with people?
I think as like a general guide, I always say this phrase, like, you know, plug into yourself more than you're plugging into the online space. And I feel like that was a huge thing I shifted, and a huge kind of thing I like to talk about with my clients, which is like, just because you're working, you know, your business is online doesn't mean you have to be online all day. And I know you like this message too. So it's like, you know, how can you feed your creativity? How can you get away from the computer and get really clear on who you are? I often recommend to my clients, don't even write your content when you're online, like write your content in a notebook. That's what I first did when I came back online. I was really jumbled by like the energy of the computer. So I'd just like either talk into my phone and record, or I would just write down in a notebook and then type it up on the computer when I didn't have to, you know, I could kind of have like the creative moment and then the moment where I'm like more computer oriented. So I think like you know, you want to feed your well first, and then at the same time, you don't have to feed your well the whole day. Like for me, I would kind of get caught up in one or the other. It was again like kind of black and white. I felt like I either had to be on the computer the whole day, or I had to be outside the whole day filling myself up. And for me, it's really been about like how to find that balance. And I think the key is to just bring the awareness to each moment and notice, you know, like again, like notice your intention. Like, is my intention here to avoid doing something because maybe I'm afraid of it? Or is my intention, you know, that I really just need some time on, you know, outside? So I think just like, you know, getting in touch with yourself and really letting the awareness be a part of your daily life, your, you know, your moment to moment business plan. Something I've been leaning into lately, you know, because my past background in yoga is really noticing my breath when I'm working on the computer. You know, sometimes I'll notice like I'll hold my shoulders tight, or I'll be like shallow breathing. So I've been taking like breathing breaks. I'm just like, okay, I'm going to walk away from the computer. I'm just going to breathe for like a minute. And that's been really, really kind of cool, just to bring the energy back into the workspace. So yeah, those are just some things off the top of my head.
Oh yeah, I love that. Breath is so huge. That's definitely something that I like to, well, sometimes I notice that I'm not breathing properly, and it's, something that I like to share with my clients too, because it, like, breath is basically life. You're totally taking the life force into your body, and it just makes everything so much more efficient, and also helps you relax for sure.
Totally. Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we close our call today? Anything that's coming to your mind right now?
I think just the notion that like you can do it, like it doesn't have to look like the way other people are doing things, it can look wildly different. It can be totally you. And at the end of the day, like you are capable. It's not like you're too sensitive or you're too passionate, or for me, I almost had moments of like being too excited about things. You're not too anything, you're just you. And, how can you let that just shine through in your business and kind of bring that to people, because people really need what you have to offer. And I think that's key to just remember along the way.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a really powerful message. I love that. All right. One last question. If anybody who's listening to this podcast right now or watching the video is interested in working with you, getting in touch with you, where can they find you and what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, well, my website's lizlockwood.net, so it's just my name. You can contact me through my website. I hang out a lot in my Facebook group, The Resilient and Inspired Entrepreneur, so I'm always in there if you want to reach out. A lot of cool people in that Facebook group, so if you'd like to join, love to have you.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll include those links and the blog post as well. That's just going to contain all the podcast and the video, so people can go and have a look. All right. Thank you so much, Liz, for being here with me today. And I'm also going to say thank you to all of our viewers and listeners for being here today. And I look forward to being back with our next episode very soon.